What's up, my name is TechNumber here for Troubleshoot and welcome back to another video. So if you don't know, recently I was forced to update to Windows 11 because I was trying to do some really niche things with the NVIDIA drivers and a bit of code. Anyways, upgrading to Windows 11, I decided, hey, why not jump into the Windows 11 developer build just so I can get the latest news and get things out to you. And would you guess it, while in the process of making a new video, I stumbled across a brand new feature that may be incredibly useful and a complete game changer for those people who play games in windowed or windowed-borderless mode. With one specific feature, you should be able to drop latency quite drastically in DirectX 10 and possibly previous games. DirectX 12 already has this feature built in. Dropping latency means faster inputs from your keyboard and mouse to the game, and of course things will seem a bit faster, a bit snappier. First of all, I'll be showing you where this is in Windows 11, though you will need the Developer Insider build, which if I've done a video on before, I'll have a link down below. Otherwise, I'll have a video on that coming out tomorrow. Then I'll run through exactly what this means, and third, whether you should bother updating or not, or at least speculation. Anyways, how exactly do we get to this new setting? Simply hit Start and type in GPU. Then open Graphics Settings. Inside of here, in System Display Graphics, you should see a default settings section at the very top. Click Change Default Graphics Settings, and assuming you're on the latest Windows 11 developer build, you should have an option here, Optimizations for Windowed Games. This includes windowed and windowed-borderless games. Reduce latency and use advanced features in compatible games by using Flip Presentation Model. You'll need to restart your game for changes to take effect. Simply turn this on here, and the feature should now be active. Restart the game you're playing, and poof! You should immediately get lower input latency, assuming the game that you're playing isn't already DirectX 12, but this feature is already available. That being said, do you need to upgrade to Windows 11 to actually use this feature? Well, if it's a DirectX 12 game, I would assume not. This is probably built into the engine, and you can more than likely use it on Windows 10, though I may be wrong. You'll probably find some more accurate information in the comments down below. If someone puts something really good together, I'll make sure to pin it, or at least heart it. If you would like to play around with this, is it worth upgrading to Windows 11? Well, you're not upgrading to Windows 11, you're upgrading to the Windows 11 Insider build for developers. You get the absolute latest features, it updates pretty often, probably once a week or so, though this does mean that it's not going to be incredibly stable. Yes, I create content on it, yes, I play games on it, though having computer problems is pretty much what my channel is based around. The more problems I have, the more possibilities I have to create content. Though maybe it's just because I'm forced to fix them and I can't procrastinate. Anyways, I wouldn't specifically recommend upgrading just for this until we start seeing some really solid benchmarks and numbers of how good this actually is. If you'd like to find out more information, you can click More About Optimizations for Windowed Games, and of course, if you're not running Windows 11, the developer build, you'll find this article linked down below, written on February 16th, 2022. On the DirectX developer blog. I won't be reading everything from here, but I'll be skipping through it. We understand that you want to see the best out of your games and your PC, which is why we're excited today to introduce you to Optimizations for Windowed Games. This feature has the ability to significantly improve latency and unlock other exciting gaming features, including Auto HDR and Variable Refresh Rate VRR. I would assume these are for windowed mode games and windowed borderless. Currently, it makes sense that these are only in full-screen games. Latency improvements can benefit all gamers, from improving your input lag to creating a competitive edge in your gaming experience. What are optimizations for windowed games? Let me explain. This setting affects presentation models used in windowed and windowed-borderless DirectX 10 and 11 games. Presentation is the method for getting your game's rendered frames onto your display in the most optimal way. To learn more about it, check out the appendix. We'll get there in a moment. This new optimization specifically applies to windowed and borderless windowed games because when you're running in full screen, a similar optimization already exists. And this new setting brings a consistent experience no matter which mode you're playing in. You don't need to worry about DirectX 12 games as they've already taken advantage of this new presentation mode. Specifically, this optimization works by upgrading the legacy presentation model used by a game to a modern one. If you're wondering more about the various models and how they impact performance, check out the other dev blog here, which dives deeper. We'll get there in a moment. But we call this optimization, so it does more than just unlock stellar gaming features. Flip model generally results in lower latency. Reducing latency means that you're getting your game's frames to the screen as fast as possible. And then a note down here about screen tearing and VSync. Scrolling down, the requirements currently to get this is to be part of the Windows Insider program and using the developer channel on Windows 11 to get at least build 22545 or above. If I hit start, type in WinVer, you'll see I'm currently running 22567. This is the latest developer build as far as I understand. And well, that's probably a couple ahead of this one. If you'd like to learn more about it, check this blog over here, the Windows Insider blog. Your DirectX 10 or 11 game needs to be running in a windowed or borderless windowed environment to use this feature. I guess nothing before DirectX 10. To opt in, I've already showed you that, and per app opt out. In the same screen that I've previously shown in optimization guides, we can pick specific games, choose a specific graphics processor, and choose whether we would like to use optimizations for windowed games. To quickly show you this, Startup Settings, System Display Graphics, or of course hit start and type in GPU. Select any game or program, options, and you'll have the option right over here. Super simple. Microsoft strives to deliver the best graphics settings in your games by default. Some of the options in default graphics settings may be checked by default because an app is not compatible with the setting. You may also see a warning message if you untick this option. I'm not too sure what settings or games they're talking about here, probably Microsoft-specific ones. In short, we disable apps that have known issues on default to ensure that you have the best settings without having to do too much guesswork on what might be wrong. I would assume they'll automatically opt out in the previous menu that I just showed you. Feedback is always welcome, and the appendix at the bottom. This simply talks about what is windowed mode, and basically in a windowed format, other things can be displayed on top of the game. Game bar, overlays, notifications, etc. Makes it easier to switch applications, and borderless window is very similar, though of course there's no border. So scrolling up and checking the blog, which dives deeper into actual performance, you'd expect some hard numbers, but unfortunately this post that it links to from April 9th, 2018, for best performance use the DXGI flip model, doesn't actually have any numbers anywhere. Though what it does have is some useful information if you're someone who codes games or understands what on earth they're talking about. Let's try and run through this as simply as possible. What's new in flip model? Direct flip and independent flip are optimizations that are enabled for applications using flip model swap chains. Depending on a window or program's configuration, it is possible to bypass desktop composition entirely and directly send application frames to the screen, in the same way that Exclusive Fullscreen does. I would assume that this means you can't drag applications over certain games using this feature, or at least it'll switch out of using this feature when you do so, and probably switch back when you're done. These days, these optimizations can engage in one of three scenarios with increasing functionality. Direct flip, when your game matches your screen dimensions and your window region covers the screen, instead of using the DWM swap chain, the application swap chain is used instead. I would assume low latency, skipping all of the windows composition, placing other windows and overlays on top of it. Same as Exclusive Fullscreen. Direct flip with panel fitters. The window covers the screen and your GPU is used to scale whatever's on your display, I would assume. Direct flip with multi-pane overlay, MPO. The DWM is able to reserve a dedicated hardware plane for your application, which is then sent to the screen and potentially stretched to a specific region of the screen. I guess it's passing through the entire Windows desktop with a portion cut out in it for your game, so that your game gets to your screen faster than anything else. What else is new in flip model? There's a whole bunch of information here, talking about frame latency, content in HDR formats not being clamped unless it's composed to an SDR desktop. I would assume if you fire up a game that's HDR supported in windowed mode and it covers your entire screen, or probably enough of it, it'll switch to using HDR. That sounds like it might be a useful feature. So, of course, this is a super nerdy article that they linked, and there's no real numbers here. In the future, I'll probably get around to creating a comparison video, but for now, I'll leave it to the professionals, as I'm not too sure here. On this page with a ton of information under what's new, they link to PresentMon, which is a tool to get insight into which of the above was used. On this page over here, PresentMon, they link to a bunch of different applications here. Once again, I have no idea how to benchmark the correct pieces in order to get this working properly, or at least get proper numbers for you. So once again, I'll be leaving this for now. To break this down in a super simple way, basically, full screen games send frames from your game directly to your monitor. When you switch to windowed mode, it creates the same frames in the exact same time, then sends it to Windows to put your mouse and overlays and other programs on top of it, and then it's copied and pasted to your display. This way, your actual game rendering will be sent instantaneously to your screen, and Windows will do the rest in the background around that specific area. So effectively, exclusive full-screen games will have the exact same, or at least close to, latency as windowed and windowed-borderless games, as those latencies are improved dramatically. But regardless, you now know how to turn it on in the latest developer build of Windows 11 if you decide to install that and go to it. Though for now, I'd sit around and wait until it becomes a bit more mainstream, and of course it's improved upon if that is even necessary. It seems like this has been going on since 2018. Which begs the question, why not bring this to Windows 10 as well? Maybe it's already partially there with DirectX 12, and it's just not worth backporting it for 11 or 10. Anyways, that's really about it for this video. Sorry that there aren't any hard numbers here, but if Microsoft says it improves latency, more than likely it does exactly that. Whether you'd actually gain enough input latency improvement to make switching to Windows 11 worthwhile, currently, I don't think so. But in the future, if that turns out to be the case, a ton of benchmarks and things like that are done, more than likely, Windows will already have it moved across to a more stable branch of Windows 11 Insider, at least if it's not already in the full Windows 11 release in the future. So currently, this is probably very new technology, or at least very new in Windows 11, and there'll be a rough period where certain games have it on if you turn the feature on globally for your PC, and it ends up breaking things horribly. Of course, after a certain number of reports and things like that, they'll either add programs and applications to an allow list or a block list for whether they're allowed to actually use this feature, or at least it's on by default. Thank you all for watching. My name's been TechnoBehavior Troubleshoot, and I'll see you all next time. Ciao!